The Two Count, where comedy meets wrestling. Please comment, share, and like, and if you're watching the live stream, join us with your comments and questions. And now here are the hosts of The Two Count, comedian John Russell, and wrestling broadcaster Big Ace.
Good afternoon, evening, holy crap, how are you everybody? Good to see you. It's Tuesday. It is again the Two Count with Big Ace and John Russell. So this is the second week that we have to compete with NXT. Yeah. But here's the interesting thing, okay? From all the ratings that have come out from the last week, both shows increased. So the increase for NXT on Tuesday night was quite large, and the increase for AEW was quite large on Wednesday. So most people are saying, well, you should go ahead and then move NXT.
It'd be nice for fans.
I think, well, see, that's the big problem. For the business as a whole, it would be great because NXT is going to get more viewers and AEW is going to get more viewers. But it all depends on how petty I think Vince wants to be.
Well, he's got other things to worry about now, like trying to block all his talent from making extra
Oh,
money.
yeah.
He'll be busy enough. It sounds like there may be backlash.
A little bit of backlash. But anyway, folks, if you're watching tonight, you may be watching us on Facebook. You may be watching us on YouTube. You may be watching us on Twitter, Periscope, or Twitch. We're on all four of those platforms. We're on two different Twitch channels tonight. We're on the old one, which I should switch, actually. The old Mass Comedian Xcast, and then we're also on the WrestleMania Twitch. So whatever. But if you're out there watching, we appreciate you tuning in to see what we got going on today. Whole lot of stuff going on. I don't know where you want to start. I would say probably, and we didn't get to compare notes today, but I would say probably the biggest news out of anything that happened, there probably two things. One, Vince McMahon cracking down like a dictator on his independent contractors is thing number one, and we touched on that a little bit. Thing number two is Matt Hardy cracking his melon on that bump that they did from that scissor lift, and that was, I didn't watch it live. I had to watch it in replay, so I'd already heard about it. But when I did watch it, oh my God!
Well, hang on, don't get into it yet. We'll get into it when we actually go through the all.
Okay,
part.
All right.
We should go through results. It's only
yeah, you're right.
Let's get back to what you were saying. First of all, probably the biggest news story that's happened since our last episode last week, and that is that earlier in the week, was it? Well, no, it was probably the end of last week, right?
Well, it was on Saturday. I believe it was either on Friday or Saturday that it came out, because there were numerous jabs that were taken during the All Out at Vince.
Yeah, AEW had some fun with it. Their talent just had some fun with it too, because people were tweeting instantly when this news broke. Yeah, so it's they sent down word to the superstars that all third-party activity must stop. There's a lot of things that, there's people that they're saying who's responsible for it. The funny one was that they're saying Lana's the one that really blew this up by doing the Bang Energy stuff.
Yeah.
Which then Rusev came out and was like, oh, F this and F that and F Dave Metzler. And then bottom line is, it's like, dude, if you look at any of her social media, though, like everything she does, she's sponsored, she's making it.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
she's a, and I don't mean this in that way, but she's a gigantic promotion machine. I was going to say something else, but I didn't want it to come out bad, like JR's comment. But but not all of them do that, And it's like I just don't understand how he feels like he can swing with this wide brush.
Well,
he's taken he's taken away so much of their income from not doing shows. And I mean, he hasn't, but obviously they can't do it. A lot of their income goes away. A lot of their merch from those live shows goes away. And now he's like, well, we're not in control of it, so you can't do it. And it's just like, you gotta be kidding me. That's
the other thing too is, and I'm sure you've had to do this before in the field you're in, but I mean, when you're an independent contractor, and again, I don't know exactly what's in WWE's contracts, but again, they must be along the lines to the point to where they're still 1099ing these people when it comes tax season.
Oh yeah,
which means they don't own the people's birth names, and that's the thing that initially came out. It was initially broken saying that he said, I own your name, stage names, as well as if you're under contract, I own your real names. And I don't believe that's true. Plus, if that's the case, like, then they need to have some they need to renegotiate the contract so then they can do something, because obviously he's taking money out of their pockets and he needs to make up for the loss of income. But that's the thing that I've been 1099. I've done DJing for many, many years. So all those gigs are always been, and the biggest thing about those gigs that you're always told, especially, and I get it, it's a little different WWE TV and stuff, but like I worked for a company that we were being contracted into a internationally known race, and companies that were sponsoring this race that were big name companies. And it was always, when you're here, you need to give the appearance that you work for these companies.
Right.
But in reality, I didn't. And I had to follow their guidelines. But at the end of the day, they couldn't tell me, hey man, you can't go here and say that you did this gig. You can't do this gig under this name. You can't, they would never do any of that, because I don't technically work for that company.
Right.
So that's where I find it very difficult that he can. And again, the initial day that this news story broke is when it was saying that he made a comment about your stage and real names. I haven't heard anybody talking about the real name situation yet, and I've heard other news sources trying to clarify, because they said the same thing. They're like, well, when this first came out, it was apparently said that he claimed he owned their real names as well. What's the deal with that? Because now it sounds like he's saying, we own all property, blah, blah, blah. So it sounds kind of like he maybe backtracked. I know, like, Paige came out right away, like yesterday or something, said, like, I'm not shutting any of my shit down.
Yeah, she changed the names a little.
She changed it to her real name, kind of like
right.
It's her birth given name now. But she said that's all she's doing. She's not going to shut any of it down. She makes, I heard she makes like $45,000 a month on Twitch alone.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Which we obviously are not on the right medium.
Well, here's the thing. Twitch is different because it's easier to monetize Twitch than it is to monetize YouTube. You can barely monetize Facebook. Twitter and Periscope are just sort of like, it's handy, Instagram is very restrictive right now. If you're doing any kind of live streaming, it's Twitch. Mm-hmm. And it's because they just make it so easy for your followers to participate and give you money.
Yeah. The other thing too, it says is it sounds like WWE is going to try to cut a deal with Cameo for their superstars. But again, it just shows too, it's like, dude, let these people make their own money. Why do you have to have a cut of it? Like,
yeah, I think one of the things, like from a perspective of an entertainer, is like, you got to strike when the iron is hot. Like if you're hot, you can make more money when you're hot, right? Which is like, I read something too with Rusev talking about, there's some other things about being tagged in Twitter tweets and different things. And he says, they get in trouble if they tag me. He says, they're still making money off of my merch. They're still sending me checks from my merch. And it absolutely makes sense to me. But the idea that they're independent contractors and he's just going to lord all this crap over him is ridiculous. And I don't know why he thought he could get away with it, because I just don't think I think anybody that wanted to fight him on it. First of all, see, it's a fine line, right? because either you want to work for WWE or you don't. And if you want to fight him, you're going to win, but you're also going to get fired.
Right. And that's the thing, 3 years ago, that was a very real thing where it's like, well, if I get fired, I can never go to the biggest company around, where AEW's changed that landscape now and people know they can go there. I mean, but again, to AEW, again, like we've said, is still in their baby stage and they're still figuring a lot of things out. And I think they're also cornering themselves into a situation where you got more people on the roster than you have time to put on, even through YouTube and TV. Because we're not seeing. There's a lot of people who you see on Dark and stuff who I don't know are signed to full-on contracts, but they keep bringing them back. And it's like, okay, well, if this is what you can do, sign them. And let's start getting them shuffled up so we see them a little bit on Dynamite too. But that's the thing, is they've got so many people right now that I'm like, if they could figure out how to do it and do it right, they could go to a 3-hour format as well, which I know everybody's like, no more. But the thing is, you got to remember, Raw and SmackDown 3 hours when it was a one-off used to be a very special thing, and those shows were always packed from beginning to end. I get that it got watered down when it was every week, but that's also because they didn't know how to handle. When you have a company who can do 3 hours where they get kind of creative freedom, it could go the other way.
See, here's the thing. The amount of filler that WWE uses now for Raw and even for SmackDown is ridiculous. And if they simply did a show, see, the thing is that the little vignettes and the side stories and the packages are minimal on AEW. It makes their 2 hours seem like it flies by compared to the 3 hours on Raw. I feel like I can go out and go shopping, come back, and I'm not going to miss anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's what's, dude, they'll never get it down like they had it down in the Attitude Era. You had, I swear, in that roster, everybody was getting turns. You had probably 5 to 7 solid storylines going on with the entire roster, where, you see these vignettes on AEW and stuff, and it starts building, and you're like, cool. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, then the people they were just building are not on the next 2 Dynamites just because, hey, we got to get some of these other people some TV time as well. And then it all gets lost in the shuffle. And that's what I'm saying. It's like wrestling is something where it's build, and it's get people's attention, get them hooked, which you can't do that and then have that person not on the show for 2 weeks and have zero mention of it.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, well, now I'm going to get into that, where that's, again, and WWE, again, like they have a great talent, but they don't use all of them either, which is why they do all this filler. And that's a downfall for them as well. But if both of these companies could figure out that sweet spot from that Attitude Era, where, I mean, you had the biker gang versus the Puerto Ricans, you had the Nation of Domination, you had DX, you had you had Austin, you had Michaels, you had Taker, you had Kane, you had all these people, and they were all intertwined and involved in a storyline that you were invested in almost the show from beginning to end. I watched Raw from last night today because I forgot yesterday was Monday. It was just like, it's Sunday. I'm going to watch movies all day. And like 10 o'clock, I went to bed. I was like, oh, it's Monday. I go back to work tomorrow. Raw was on. Dang it. But I like what they're doing with the Hurt Business.
Mm-hmm.
Tired that it's been drug on this long of those 3 against the other 3 that are again now mid-carders. We know where they stand. They're not getting pushed to the moon anytime soon, those 3. So it was like, dude, I skipped through that whole match. And even like the only time I rewound it just to see the turn, but then even then it was like, we all knew this was coming from Cedric Alexander, so this isn't super surprising. And again, there's still that underlining tone of this might be a setup and they're just doing this to get the Hurt Locker. But again, I was kind of just like, I don't need to watch it. And I didn't need to watch the MVP VIP lounge with him.
Right.
And it was stuff like that I was just like, I don't need to watch this. I'm going to skip through this.
I'm going to give you my 2 biggest things from Raw last night, and then we can move on to our All Out recap. You can comment if you want to. Thing number 1, totally disappointed that they had Owens and Aleister Black in that ridiculous underground. that was just a gigantic waste and stupid.
So here's what's funny. Again, I didn't watch Raw last night live.
They edited that out?
And I didn't record it, so I watched the Hulu version, and they took all of the underground stuff out.
There you go, because it's stupid. And then part number 2, I absolutely loved the entire Mysterio family beating the hell out of Murphy with kendo sticks.
It was great TV.
That made me just giggle, because I thought, well, the daughter gave him a couple of good swings, but the mother was just like, oh my God, and she's going left-handed. It was like, Murphy's not going to have any marks from Mama Mysterio.
Yeah, it was funny because I was watching it and the whole time I'm like, oh, she reminds me of like my family. Like, I guarantee you, as soon as they get backstage, she's gonna just be like, I'm so sorry. Did I hurt? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, oh, she didn't probably want to do that. But then when they were laying on the ground, yeah, you're completely right, Jen.
Absolutely great point.
And that's it. It is sad that RK or Orton's like one of the most exciting things on Raw right now. And it's like, this guy should be on his downward. Like, he should be just putting guys over. He's had a great run. He shouldn't still be like the main event guy, and he is. But it works though, because like I'm involved with that. I love him, McIntyre. Like, that was great, and I love that they have Adam Pearce getting involved. I'm always up for some Scrap Daddy.
Well, and the thing is too, the way that they've got Keith Lee intertwined in that, I think, is absolutely fantastic for Keith Lee. So that shows some forethought into the fact that they're actually building Keith Lee into this whole scenario. It's some of the smartest stuff that they've got going with Orton and McIntyre and Keith Lee, in my opinion.
No, yeah, it was great. And I like the stuff with, even though I'm not a big Seth Rollins guy and I'm ready for him to take his little vacation, but I like what they're doing with the Mysterio family.
Yeah,
it's fun stuff. Billy Kay and Peyton Royce, first singles match against each other, which I was hurt. I was like, you can save that for a pay-per-view. Like, I feel like,
but because the reason they can't save it for a pay-per-view is because they can't make it into anything. And I like both of those girls, but they
were never invested in Billy, though. That's the thing. And you saw that the last few months, because you saw Peyton being the one to shine. So there was no way they were going to actually build that into like a worthwhile feud. And now, unfortunately, it looks like Billy Kay is going to get lost in the shuffle, which is a sad thing. But it's exciting to see what they're going to do with Peyton Royce, because I think they're really going to like start to push her way to the top. Or, they'll get her halfway there, then be like, you know what, let's put the tag titles back on you. How about we do the tag titles on you again?
Yeah. With somebody else.
Yeah. And I like that they're forming some stuff, Natalia and Lana. That's cool. I'm all for it. But again, like, start getting some teams. Like, you got a lot of people on NXT. You got a lot of young girls in NXT. Let's start pulling them up. Let's start pulling them in as tag teams. That's the thing. Start building some of this future talent as tag teams. The only ones you had really was the Iconics. Let's start building some tag teams, so then I feel like there's an actual women's tag division, and not just getting you and you get together, you and you get together, you and two are going to pair up. Because really the only true tag team to hold the women's tag titles has been the Iconics. Everybody else, it's been just thrown at them in a solo run.
Maybe they need to name a tag team FTV.
To do something, man. Just because also too, like that was a big deal that they brought those women tag titles in when they did, and now it's just like, come on, don't let it die out.
Just hang out.
Right. But I agree. The Mysterio family beating the crap out of Murphy, I chuckled. It was hilarious. It was just good stuff. And then my other gripe was Retribution. I mean,
there's no point in that.
Like, they were all over the place with this, because when they first started coming around, they were doing stuff on Raw and SmackDown. Am I right?
Yeah.
Because then on Raw last night, Michael Cole made the comment of, well, Retribution's been terrorizing Raw for the last month or so. Like, basically, they just cemented themselves as Retribution will be Raw now going forward. Mm-hmm. which was like, well, then why were they going to SmackDown and doing shit? And then on top of that, it's like you showed 4 or 5 guys on there doing the little promo, yet you've had like 20 of them come to the ring.
Yeah.
Like you have, I don't know. The other thing too is it's been so like I said, was it SummerSlam? There was one very little
light flicker or something.
Camera flicker.
Yeah.
To indicate retribution. Otherwise, they were not even involved on that whole page. Like it's just been so inconsistent. And
not a fan of it. Not a fan of it.
And they're cutting a promo. And then on top of that, again, you just crapped on, which I was enjoying the dynamic of the 2 different handicap matches involving Baszler and Nia Jax, because I was enjoying watching the banter of Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler.
Yeah.
Is because again, yes, they're not supposed to be a tag team and they're the champs, but they're acknowledging that as part of the storyline now. They're, we're not tag partners, and now it's going to turn into a one-off on each other, and I enjoy that. But then they just kind of crapped on it at the end when all of the light. And then for Michael Cole to not acknowledge all of the lights and the Thunderdome stuff going off for a good 30, 40 seconds and still call the match, and everybody else being like,
yeah, it's ridiculous.
And he still is just going. It's like, bro, stop. Like your job is to sell this. So like as soon as it happened, you should be like, oh my God. Especially because whenever they show up, he's the first to run.
Yeah.
He runs like a little bitch. He just he gets out. Like I love watching Michael Cole run when that stuff happens. So, you know what I mean? Like you remember when some of these announcers get taken out? Like none of them run away like Michael Cole. Like even when Justin Roberts got choked out by his tie with Nexus, he was there and he took it.
Yeah.
Like watching Michael Cole just bolt whenever anything's coming near him like that, it makes me laugh so hard. Oh, I love it.
Well, used to be the announcers, unless they were real, kind of frail guys, would actually do a little work.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, well, the thing with Cole too is we know he knows how to take a bump.
Yeah,
he has had one match, and unfortunately, it was on WrestleMania, which was just. I rewatched that Mania like a few weeks ago, and it was just that whole thing was just weird.
Yeah,
the thing was, it was so over the top, comical, and dumb. Yet they took some real deep cuts to get there. Because that was when Jerry Lawler's mother died of the heart attack, and Cole came out like the next week in the ring being like, oh, what's wrong? Oh, you ain't got a mom anymore? And it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then he said some shit about JR during that story that it was like, whoa, bro. You're Michael Cole, man. Shut up. Like, you're not these 2 guys. These guys are the people that these are the legends.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have this job without these guys, and you're but I get it. It was great. But the thing is, I was all for it, but it just fell apart when it finally came match time.
Yep.
That was because it was just so, and he had like Hager involved. Austin was the ref. It was just all over the place, man.
Yeah. All right. So that's kind of WWE in a nutshell. Now let's do a review of All Out, because it was a pretty good pay-per-view. I wouldn't say it was one of their best, but it was pretty good.
So let me ask you this before we get in. I can ask you this when this is done.
You can ask me now. I don't care.
It'll be a better question when we get through the card and then kind of talk overall what we thought of the show.
All right.
Because to me, this definitely was probably one of the worst AEW pay-per-views I've seen. And then and we'll get into the rest of that, but it just so did you rewatch the pre-shows at all, the buy-in and all that stuff? Because
no, I didn't rewatch the buy-in. I mean, I don't think I did. No, so I didn't. The first one I saw was the dentist's office, which I thought was weird because it was first.
You watched the actual All Out. You didn't. Okay. So on the pre-show, we had, let me see. I'm assuming these are on the pre-shows. I guess it doesn't specify. And no, it had to be because I watched it at the very beginning on All Out. Well, I'll get into an actually interesting story. When All Out officially went live, And I don't know what you use to watch these when you do watch them live, but I got it on the Bleacher Report live app.
Yeah,
What they stream on.
I use it on my Roku though.
Yeah. Oh, and I do it on my Apple TV. So 50 bones, whatever. Get the
Yep.
pay-per-view. For the first about 5 minutes, I could only watch the Spanish version. It wouldn't let me on the app actually play the English version.
Dios mío.
Yeah. So props to the Bleacher Report live though, because I instantly tweeted at them about it. And within a minute of the tweet going out, I had a response to my tweet, and then they were asking me to DM them. And like within 2 minutes, I was up and running. So shout out
good.
to that customer service. So
That's awesome.
yeah, what we did miss though is Joey Janela and Serpentico pre-show match. Joey Janela wins. I would hope. It would be weird if they put Serpentico over him. Next was Private Party, and I caught the very tail end of this now that I think about it. Private Party versus Dark Order, John Silver and Alex Reynolds. Private Party with the win. And now we get into the actual all-out show. And what's funny is, you said, the first match is this tooth and nail match. Dr. Britt Baker, Big Swole. Apparently, this was supposed to be on the buy-in show. But it was a nice little thing. I don't know if you've noticed, but seemed kind of short. I thought so. I was like, that was quick.
Yeah, it seemed short, but it was already done. It's not like they did it live.
But there was true. But I mean, you've seen, like, obviously WWE cinematic matches are more than 10 minutes long.
But here's the thing. My assumption is that for some reason they decided to move it. And
why?
Okay, go ahead.
I was going to tell you why this all happened. So, the reason it was only 10 minutes is they were actually hoping Britt Baker was going to be more healthy and ready to go by the time. She's not. She's still a little banged up, so she's not ready to fully go yet. So that's why they did this cinematic tooth and nail match. Because also, I think it was supposed to be just a match between these two.
Yeah.
And then the reason why, so that was why it was short. And then the reason why it ended up getting on the main show was Tony Khan watched it, enjoyed it so much in the 10 minutes. He was there when they did it. And when he watched it back, he enjoyed it so much that he said, you know what, let's put this on the actual show. We'll start it with this.
But here's the thing though. I would assume that initially they timed it and filmed it for the pre-show anyway. So that's another reason it would have been only 10 minutes.
Right. But yeah, like the big thing was, I guess she's just not ready to go yet.
Yeah.
Her whatever she tore something.
Yeah, something in her knee.
Yeah, that it's not fully healed yet. Because I remember being like, that was quick, because I missed most of it because of we were able to watch it in English right at the end of that match. Would have been a fun match if I saw all of it. Sounded like people kind of enjoyed it.
It was okay. It wasn't like stellar.
To me, this set the tone of what was going to happen constantly through this pay-per-view, and it's one of the things that I did not like about this pay-per-view.
I would agree, because I think that starting the show with that was a mistake.
Yeah, well, so my big gripe, and I'll just tell you this, because then as we get through these matches, is everything seemed to be a gimmick sort of match. Like almost everything was no rules or no disqualification, or you can do this or you can do that. It was too much to me. And we'll get in further why. But next we had the Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express. Winner will face the tag champs.
And here's the thing. Nice. I like the angry attitude that the Bucks have, but other than that, I don't care. Other than that, I really didn't care.
See, to me, here's the deal. They only had this on the show because it's going to be a number one contenders match, and the Bucks were obviously going to go over, because again, this is all just happening so we can finally set up the Young Bucks versus FTR.
Yeah.
What all of this is getting its way to. They could have did this on a Dynamite.
Absolutely.
This number one contenders match. To be honest, the Bucks probably didn't need to be on this pay-per-view.
Yeah.
They could have been more made a lasting impression on this pay-per-view more if they would have just came out at the end of the actual tag champ match.
Yeah.
But that's my opinion. But it's the Young Bucks. It's a big crowd favorite, so whatever.
Yeah.
Young Bucks obviously win, and it was a good match. Two really great teams.
Yeah,
really, really, really good talent in that ring. Casino Battle Royal. So You had some stuff going on. You had like obviously Ortiz and Santana and Best Friends were getting into it. You had Brian Cage and Ricky Starks getting into it with Darby Allin. You had a bunch of. So who did you like in this that you saw? And we'll get to that Joker entrance in the. I don't want to make a big deal out of it. I mean,
everybody makes mistakes, and it's sad that it happened to the guy on his first comeback. But all right, so things that I did not like. I didn't like that they sort of seemed to get a little lazy in that as they went along, it's like, oh well, these two guys are together, send them out together. It's like what the fuck?
My thing is, why do we have to have a casino battle? First of all, the casino battle royale should really be Double or Nothing exclusive while it's in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't need to be on every pay-per-view you do going forward now. Just doesn't. It's almost like the buy-in. Like, I don't like that the pre-show is always the buy-in. I like it when it's the Vegas pre-show because it makes sense. But I don't like the buy-in for All Out. I don't like the buy-in for Full Gear. What I don't like, just say it's the pre-show. Damn it!
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing too, you're trying to make people take you guys more credible as far as the fact as your win-loss records matter and all this, and we try to make it somewhat of a sport too while it's entertainment. Okay, cool. Well, then call it a pre-show. Well, don't gimmick it up, and it's the buy-in.
Yeah,
it sounds tacky because now you're just exploiting the fact that, like, hey, buy it $50, buy it $50. Like, this is dumb.
Yeah. So here's the thing. You and I talked about it last week and how we thought, oh yeah, Lance Archer can't win again. Well, guess what? He did.
Well,
But he's actually, when he's out there, he stands out to me. In that sea of humanity, he stands out. Cage stands out. Cage is a big dude. Lance Archer makes him look small.
Yeah, he's got the height on him.
And Cage is built better, but Lance Archer he just looks like a killer. And there's just something about the guy I like. Now, thing I didn't like, Jake coming out with a bag and not doing anything with it.
Well, first of all, you knew it wasn't really a snake.
Well, yeah, but I mean, just
you
the whole
knew that when he started beating the shit out of the bag.
Yeah, but the whole
dude with the bag, it's like, well, obviously that's not a snake because PETA be on you right now.
Yeah.
I love Jake the Snake Roberts, and if you want to put a microphone on him to push Lance Archer, I'm all for it. But he is just a little too old to be trying to interfere in matches nowadays. Well, he doesn't look good doing it. He comes off really old. Even lately in the last few weeks, I feel like his promos haven't been well, and the dynamics change. Archer makes him look like the bitch now. So.
Yeah, and he's the problem with Jake is too that he's unpredictable. As much as he's cleaned up with DDP, he's still unpredictable. Mm-hmm. I.e., that shit he did with Brandy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, okay, so obviously he hasn't been on as much, and maybe Archer hasn't been on as much because they don't want they want him to be together, but they don't trust Jake to not do something stupid.
I mean, yeah, but they didn't use a lot of Archer either, though, when Jake was staying home due to COVID.
Well, I know,
and that's another thing with AEW where it's just like you use someone, you give them like a month of stuff, and then you pull them off for 2 weeks, and it's all of a sudden back to him. It's like, well, now I'm invested in this. Like, pick.
Yeah,
Eddie Kingston. Like, I love Eddie Kingston, but he did the one great match with Cody. They signed him, and he's had one other appearance, and then the Royal, and it's like. That's a great talent. Give him a mic and let him wrestle.
Yeah, he needs to be on more. I was surprised that he was on at the end. To be honest, but I mean, it didn't. I wasn't disappointed that he was. I thought that the thumbtacks in the body bag was kind of a weird thing to do in that scenario because nobody else did anything like that. No, I mean,
but that's my thing is with every match there had to been some sort of gimmicky thing and some sort of really big spot.
Yeah.
And AEW needs to learn. And I get it. I've saw people talking after, especially once we get into the next match, being like, well, AEW is to play some big spots and big flips and daredevil moves because it's what the fans want. I can tell you as a fan, halfway through the pay-per-view for AEW, I was like, I even tweeted it. I was like, take it down a notch, AEW. Like, first of all, I am a wrestling fan, so I want to watch a match in the ring and I want to see the story being told in the ring. Second of all, you are putting your talent in way too much risky spots. And it was proven again on this show and almost overshadowed by one specific spot. So again, no one's asking for this. Again, they came from that mindset of we have to treat every one of these AEWs like it's the indies, where when these guys were doing big indie shows, they were going all out every time they were in a town because it's what was expected of them. Plus, that's how they were getting over online because people were throwing all these moments on. Right now, like, yo, you got to do this shit every week now. You can't be doing these spots. You can't be doing a gimmick match every other match. Like, remember when and again, maybe I'm old school, but I remember growing up, man, where, SummerSlam 93, everything was a wrestling match. And then you maybe had one no DQ match and maybe one cage match. And it was like, oh my God.
Even in a regular match, you would have an entire pay-per-view where maybe a guy snuck out a chair and cracked the guy with a chair, but it was not. Right. It was not like blatantly obvious. I'm going to hit your ass with a chair. It was a one timer, and then it was and so that kind of shit to me. It's like it's escalated so much to where it doesn't mean anything.
No, it doesn't, and it is like you mentioned, even on a regular match on AEW, it feels like they always end up grabbing a chair, a table, or something. Yeah. It's like. Yeah, and that's always been JR had issues with that when he first started calling. We all know this, where it was, what the hell? That's why you have a 10 count, and why are they not holding the rope to tag and blah blah blah. And I get it, but now it's like, guys, chill out. Like, I get the acrobatic stuff, I get the big spots and all that, but again, real wrestling fans are going to tell you the same thing, and that is, I want to see that story in a match. There's a reason Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Harley Race, Nick Bockwinkel, Bob Backlund. There's a reason Iron Sheik, all these guys could go in the ring and put on a 45 to an hour long match and keep the crowd engaged.
Yeah. None
of these new cats can do that, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
Because they don't have that to fall back on now. So
now we'll go back to John's comment from earlier. Most of the young guys are not as entertaining, and they're athletic as hell. They just are not as adept at the storytelling part of it.
Yeah, because there was always that thing of it'd be great to see some really athletic people wrestle, because obviously back in the day it was always the big guys, and let's be honest, those Dusty Rhodes and Harley Race the most athletic man in the world? No, they were not. Could they beat the crap out of you? Most definitely, especially Harley Race.
Ultimately, Hogan is that same guy. Hogan was not a great wrestler, but Hogan knew how to tell that story, and it was like reading a bedtime story to the kids. You knew what was coming, and you didn't give a shit.
Yeah, exactly. So, with all that being said, the next match now is the Matt Hardy Sammy Guevara Broken Rules match. So this match started with the golf cart, basically him trying to run Guevara down. They end up battling for a while. They crash through a table. In all honesty, this happened very quickly.
Oh, it happens. It happened so quickly. It was
like within the first 5 minutes of him driving to hit him with the cart till they were on top of that hydraulic thing.
If you go back in time, I bet you it was less than 3 minutes.
Yeah, it probably was. And anybody who was watching it saw it. If you weren't watching the pay-per-view, you've had to at least seen the clip by now, even though I think they tried to pull it down.
And if it didn't make you sick to see that, it had to make you sick to see Matt Hardy trying to get. I mean, obviously, he's out as anybody, laying there, eyes wide open. He's out, and he doesn't move. And to be honest, I don't know that Sammy's not hurt, but clearly,
I mean, Matt took the brunt of it, but they both were not feeling great after landing. But I mean,
it
was almost a waist up situation for Matt Hardy. It was almost
good God,
waist up
because he couldn't stand, and when he went to try to do anything, he couldn't. I mean, he literally couldn't do anything.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. I mean, watching it when it happened, I froze. I just literally stopped and was just like for a real quick second, I was like, did we really just watch a guy die?
I know.
Because the most normal human beings would not survive that type of fall. Now, granted, this is a Matt Hardy. He's been through similar things.
Yeah, but
you know, I mean, he's been through similar things, him and his brother. So I mean, but it was bad, and I don't think anyone's to blame on that. I really don't. I think that because
here's what I'll say,
because it was kind of like a bulldog going down, right?
It was no, because Matt was on his back, and Matt was going off backwards. And Sammy was, so it was kind of like a reverse bulldog. It sort of looked like, but they just way overshot the table. And to me, the fact that they didn't have any kind of protection of any kind after that. And even though I read that they went through it twice, but the adrenaline shot them over the table. How do you do that without having, the bare concrete, and you're going to fall 8 feet? How do you not put some kind of something down, to make sure that this, even if you do overshoot it, even if there is a mistake, that somebody doesn't get killed?
I mean, yeah, I get it, but I mean, WWE's never done it. They haven't done it. It's not going to happen now. Maybe now.
I don't recall WWE ever doing something like that on bare cement.
Oh, dude, the triple threat matches with the Edge, Christian, Hardys, and Dudleys, that shit was going down all day. They were falling on the tables from that high.
Well, I know they were falling on tables, but they still had even though it's minuscule, they still had, they weren't falling on bare cement.
I mean, yeah, basically, but yeah, no, I mean, it's they're not going to do it because, I mean, if anything, they're going to pad underneath the tables, which wouldn't have helped in this situation because they shot them. So I honestly, I think the tables were just too close. I think whoever put them there, they needed to go a couple feet back. I think that
the whole thing
didn't look like they launched off very much. It didn't look like there was a big push off. It looked like they did what they were supposed to do, and just those tables weren't. Like you said, overshot it, but
here's the thing: if they went through it twice with a stunt coordinator and they still fucked it up, then something happened. And I would assume that if they went through it twice with a stunt coordinator and placed the tables where they were supposed to be, that okay, that's where they're supposed to be. And I just have to assume that adrenaline made them go further than they probably would have.
Yeah, I mean, they very could have. Well, like I said, I didn't notice a big jump off, which made me kind of think that those tables weren't where they needed to be. And and when you're walking through things, but you never know until you do it.
Right.
So that's the one thing, that's kind of the one trade-off. Like, that's the one thing as far as WWE with like Vince McMahon is, no one, like Tony Khan's not asking. I don't think he's not asking these guys to do this. They're coming up with this on their own.
Right.
If he's doing stuff like this, he's asking you to do it, but then he'll, everybody knows the rule of him, and that is, I would never put you in a position that I wouldn't do it either.
Yeah.
So like, but at the end of the day, too, accidents happen.
Right.
And it is what it is. I mean, we've seen 2-3 weeks ago, there was the accident with the chair on Matt Hardy from Sammy Guevara. I instantly was like, oh my God, Matt Hardy. I hope he's all right. This is not, definitely is not part of the show. And then instantly I was like, damn, man, that sucks for Guevara. He's had a
Oh yeah.
of it. I mean, all that crap being, all the stuff with what he said about Sasha getting benched for a month and going through sensitivity training, coming back, having the incident with the chair with Matt, where it sounded like he legit was not happy with him backstage. And then this, and it's just like, damn, this poor kid can't catch up. Break.
Yeah. So anyway, so they call the match off, and they're walking them both back, and you see them both walking back, because obviously you don't know what the hell they're going to do. And the first thing that pops into my head is, I'm glad he's up and walking. What does this mean? Is he out? Is he out of AEW now? I mean, that's what I'm thinking. Because they had to call it off because he can't perform now, right?
You want to know where my mind was at though on that? It was, and this is just me being the TV guy, is they didn't break camera. So the whole time I was like, could be a work. If he was legitimately injured and could not go, they wouldn't keep these cameras on him for 10 more minutes. They would have cut off and been like, okay, that obviously he's hurt. We cannot continue this match. So that's why I was like, what?
Yeah. And so then when he started climbing so when they let him go back to it, and they went directly to the finish.
Real quick though, when you say they were walking down the hall, they popped into a door, both of them. And then they came out of that door. How many minutes do you think they were in that little room?
Not enough to do a concussion protocol.
That's my question, because apparently that had to have been where they did the concussion protocol, because no one else saw it happening other than the doctor checking on him.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. They did have a couple of different cuts, to different cameras. They did, if I recall, they did go back and show him falling off at least once, if not twice.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a separate camera on Sammy and a separate camera on Matt, as I recall. So, I mean,
and I get it. Here's the deal, too. You guys, people got to remember this, and I get it, because even Matt Hardy's wife was tweeting there, and this was going nuts.
Yeah.
But the other thing, too, with Matt Hardy's wife is you never know what she's doing either, because she does this, and half the time she's just working people on Twitter, too.
Right.
And then half of the time, too, Matt Hardy's wife just isn't that smart. I hate to say it, but she has opened her mouth on situations in the wrestling world where, lady, you maybe shouldn't have. And then later realized you probably shouldn't have opened your mouth. And again, I get it. You're concerned for your husband and everything, but you guys got to remember, Matt Hardy is an OG. He's old school, and he went through WWE in the heyday of WWE.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I mean, he went through the big players, big times, their attitude era, that none of those guys, if this happened to them and they felt they can continue, would stop.
Right.
And we've seen this. Daniel Bryan's talked about it, the match against the Wyatts, where he finally turned on the Wyatt family. Remember this when he was with them? It was that cage match, and when he was on top of the cage took the thing off and then did the yes chant. He doesn't remember any of it. He was completely concussed. He doesn't, and the fact that he climbed up the cage to do that, not even knowing where he was, or Taker getting Brock with the streak getting beat, that whole match, but still did it. So unless Hardy was like, I'm dying, he wasn't going to stop.
Right.
Even if they were like, stop, he wouldn't stop. And that's the old school way.
So, okay. So, and that's all well and good. So as we progress now, they go right to the finish. And the finish is hard as fuck to watch, because I'm afraid that he's not going to be able to climb it, and they keep going. And I'm like, he's not going to be able to get up he's going to fall. I kept thinking, because after having seen him not be able to stand up, I'm like, this fucking guy is going to fall through this thing and get hurt worse.
Well, I think that's what they did in that room is, can you climb it to finish? Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Well, and so the whole thing, and so they finish, and Sammy falls, and I mean, from the looks of it, he got pretty close to the edge of that thing too.
Yeah, kudos to Sammy, because he had to have been shitting himself this whole time.
Oh, fuck yeah. But anyway, so now I don't know about you, but for me, that was like breaks hard, and it like, and I think this is probably the same for a lot of people that were watching. It just all of a sudden it took all the fun out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely killed the pay-per-view. I mean, again, I said it before we got into this rundown of the results that this pay-per-view will always be overshadowed by that spot and the injury to Matt Hardy. It'll be interesting to see tomorrow night on Dynamite because he will be there and he's going to talk, he says.
It'd be funny if he just came out and went,
it'd be like that scene in the first Ted. You remember that movie?
Yeah.
With the ever at the end when he comes back to life and he's like, "Hey, you showed some of the stuff and a little effed up," but that's good. So again, horrible accident in a match that, again, I get it. I get why they were doing this, but again, AEW, do we need to have no DQ matches and anything goes matches every other match?
I don't think so.
3 gimmick matches. Give me the rest, just all an actual match. And, and here's another thing too. You go from this match into which to me was probably match of the night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fortunately, was still overshadowed by this incident.
Absolutely.
But I mean, Shida versus Thunder Rosa was by far match of the night. And I'm sorry, I have never been on the Shida train. I admit she is a very talented wrestler, but I never got it. I still don't get it. And after that match, I really don't get it because I don't know how you're not talking to Billy Corgan and being like, bro, let me have her. Just let me have her.
Yeah.
Let me do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable.
What's up, Chris? Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah. Happy birthday to your moms.
Yeah. Woo. Hell yeah, dude. Thanks for hanging out with us while you're hanging out with the fam. Hopefully everybody was good.
Yeah, I mean, Thunder Rosa, and you know this because we've talked about it ever since she popped up on NWA when that was going on.
Which is because I still haven't seen her on NWA. I've just seen indie matches.
Oh my god, dude, she was so good on NWA, and I was just so incredibly happy to see her come over to AEW and tell her to blow out the candles. I don't know how old you are, Chris, but she can only blow out, what, about 42? 42 years old is probably how old your mom is from the looks of you. I don't know. Tell your mom she looks young. She looks way younger than her age. But yeah, I felt like it was a good match. I honest to God, man, I'm not disappointed that Shida won because I didn't think they were going to take the belt off her, but she sure as hell should have.
Yeah, again, for me, I'm just not a Shida fan. I don't get it. Like, how can you have her as your champ? You can't build anything for her. This match worked because you were bringing in an outside champ. There's not been one storyline involving Shida that I've been invested in because
there aren't any.
Well, the one they tried was her and man, I can't even remember. I can't remember, but yeah. Anyways, either way, let's get to the next match because we need to get to.
We need to pull through here.
And this match was whatever. Dark Order versus Matt Cardona, Scorpio Sky and the National Nightmares. Cardona, Scorpio Sky, and the National Nightmares get the win. With Cardona, I believe, getting the pin. Good to see him over there.
Yep.
Next big match, tag team champions match: Kenny Omega, Adam Page versus FTR. It was a great match, and it was a great story told. And I'm excited to see where this all goes. It appears the Cleaner's on his way back, and it appears that we may see Adam Page join FTR, maybe Tully and Sean Spears. Or maybe he'll just go on his own, do his own thing.
But it was good.
It was good, and I'm all about FTR, man.
It was good, and we knew that was going to happen. But I love the way that they ended it with Omega just sort of letting Hangman fall when he was reaching for him. And the whole this is due, and I think we all were waiting for it. So there it was.
Right. Next, we had the Chris Jericho versus Orange Cassidy Mimosa Mayhem match. I had no high, but I'm not gonna lie, I didn't hate the match. The match was still good. They worked cool. They worked. They worked great together.
I didn't hate it. I just
see, to me it's like
it was so hokey.
But to me, like half of this card was hokey. You know what I mean? It's like I love AEW, but I don't know what their mindset was going into All Out because, again, I don't know why every other match had to have some stipulation or some crazy gimmick. I don't know. So by the time we got here, I was like, I just want to see these two work the ring together.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Maybe if it was the only hokey gimmick in the show, I might have felt better about it. But by that time, I was all gimmicked out.
Well, and again, that's why I said at the beginning of this card why, to me, I had an issue with this All Out show, and it's because this didn't. This is not you should put on a show.
I'll say this, and then we can move on. The only thing that I really enjoyed about that match, and they did good. Don't get me wrong, but the thing that I really enjoyed about that match was when Jericho fell into that pool, and it all splashed onto the faces on the side of the thing because obviously they didn't practice how far that splash was going to go.
Yeah,
that was hilarious to me.
I loved watching the Bell and Time area and like all of them just like kicking their feet up and trying
They're all scattering and
and Jericho was like, "This is great. I'm gonna get all of you wet." Like he was going hard. He's like, "I'm gonna slam as hard as I can, and you're all getting soaked."
Yeah,
which was great. I mean that right there is a match you would see on the cruise.
Yeah,
I mean, it really is like throwing someone in the pool. Like it's great. And then our main event, Jon Moxley versus MJF. Great match. I was ready for MJF to get the win and be the new champ, but I get it. As soon as Archer won the Battle Royal, I right away was like, well, MJF's not winning tonight.
Yeah. I'll say that. I mean, it's like this is only MJF's sixth singles match, right?
Something like that, yeah. Because he was hurt for a little bit, and then just like
The
thing is, you have a great heel, you don't need him to work a lot,
right?
Especially him.
But I gotta say that I love the ending.
Yeah,
the ending was fantastic.
Yeah, I love the overthrown ring, and then when he goes to get it, like that look up, like oh no, and then just the paradigm shift before the ref turns around,
and then at the end, that shrug, which is on our thumbnail, that shrug is like classic,
right? No, it was great, man. It really was. The only problem I had with all this, and this is why, again, we don't need a casino battle royale on every goddamn pay-per-view, guys.
Here's the other part of it too.
As soon as Lance won, it
didn't need to be that long.
No, it didn't. But again,
they could have taken that entire thing out of there, and it would have been fine.
My only thing though is it's a good thing that was there because we don't know how long Sammy and Matt were originally supposed to go.
Well, right.
That definitely got cut short. So the good thing they added what they did because it still made it. Because again, even with that really bad spot, and they had to call that match off, and that's why they went straight to the finish. This thing was still 4 hours long.
I know.
The last half hour, I was struggling. I was like, because WWE has gotten me spoiled to where it's like, oh, it's 8:39 and I'm done. All right.
Yeah.
Now, like, dude, I'm struggling to stay awake to watch this. Yeah, it was good. We got Full Gear coming up in November. Again, I'd say like a C- on this show for me.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, there are things that I like, but way more this time, way more things that I didn't like.
Yeah, it just wasn't. It wasn't. Again, it was. And I get it. Things are different. Who knows what would have happened if we had actual crowds in the arenas and stuff like that? Who knows where they would have gone? Maybe that's why they came up. Because look at the cinematic matches with WWE. We're seeing those happening because they need to make up of lack of live reaction and all that. So I get that, but again, I love AEW and I love everything they do. And again, everybody who listens to this or the Briscoe and Big A show will know I've always preached that as a wrestling fan, no one can sit here and be like, I like this and they're dumb, because we're lucky as fans to have the options we have.
Yeah.
Years ago, there wasn't these options around and easily available like they are now. So, and I love both companies. I really do. I grew up as WWE, and I've been around for the infancies of AEW and was on the cruise where a lot of these pieces came together, that first time around.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I love it too, but both companies have things they could do better. And for AEW, one of those things is get back to some of the old school wrestling. Bring it back. Tell a story. You've got talent that can do it. Have them do it. Don't just let them go and call spot after spot after spot. I'm tired of it. I really am getting tired of it. That's why when a great actual match happens, it's like, oh, that was great.
Yeah.
like Thunder Rosa and Sheeta. Like that match was such a great technical match, great storytelling match. They were selling when they needed to sell. They were, going over when they need. It was great from beginning to end. And that you just miss out on some of that stuff. So we'll see what happens come November. That's the one thing I like about AEW. They got time to build between their pay-per-views, unlike WWE, who just had 2 pay-per-views in a row. Before we go on to our underrated wrestlers, what I wanted to ask you, though, is between the 3 shows we've just seen in the last 3 weeks, what is your 1, 2, 3 as far as SummerSlam, Payback, and All Out?
Man, that's tough. I think... And granted, they're all out of the ways away. Yeah, it's here's the thing, Chris. I agree with you, and I find it harder to watch, but they seem to be turning the corner a bit, and it is becoming a little bit more interesting for me. I would honestly, I kind of got to say I liked Payback best. I liked. SummerSlam next, and then I like this one. But I mean, if I were to go through and pick out individual matches, it would be different.
No, you don't need to do that.
But you know what I'm saying.
Overall, as shows, I was just curious because for me, I definitely had Payback, SummerSlam 3 was All Out, which a year ago it would have probably gone the other way. It would have probably been like All Out, and who cares about the other 2?
A year ago, there wouldn't have been any question.
You know what I mean? We're now, and Chris, like you said, you're finding it harder and harder. I'm the same way. I mean, I'm definitely not watching it weekly like I used to. But then when I go back and watch it these last few weeks, I'm like, I need to start watching it weekly live again because it's starting to get better.
See, the hard part is when I watch these, and then we'll get on to our thing. The hard part is when I watch all of these shows is that there's nothing that's perfect, and there's never going to be anything that's perfect, right? Absolutely. The Fiend is one of the best things they got going right now.
Oh yeah. And I'm so in it now that Alexa Bliss is getting thrown into that mix.
Yeah. Is she the one coming out with the fancy furs in the thing? Is she going to be a fancied up Sister Elizabeth? Or Sister Abigail?
No. She's
going to be. We know that.
Yeah.
Finally.
I don't know what that was.
I thought it was going to be, honestly, I thought it was going to be Peyton Royce. They were going to ruin her.
It was too, but then she was on Raw. So my thing is, I think it may be Carmella making her return.
Oh, that might be. I like Carmella, but, she's not the greatest wrestler. Anyway, all right. So I was going to say something. I can't remember what it was. So let's just, sweet God. Let's just do our list.
We're getting old. The memories of getting.
I was just thinking. I mean, you're talking about thinking that Monday was Sunday. I was just trying to figure out, do I have something I got to do tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, I gotta go fill out shit for the airport tomorrow.
Oh, almost.
Yeah. And then I think, oh God, am I physically capable of doing that still?
I think to warm up again. Otherwise, you might be going to work sooner than.
Well, dude. I can use the money. Anyway, all right, folks. We like to do lists here on the 2 Count, and today we're going to do a list of our top 3 underrated wrestlers. Push that start button, see, and then we get going. All right. So today, underrated wrestlers of all time. And we're only doing 3 because we like to keep it short. And so I'm going to start off.
If we did more than 3, we'd be here another hour.
Well, I mean, there's so many honorable mentions, and there are just so many. But we had to pick 3 each.
So what's your criteria when going into this list real quick?
My criteria was just like guys that were really good. That never got, for whatever reason, I felt their due.
So you're looking more from the company standpoint as far as like these guys should have been shot up.
Absolutely. I'm not talking about a wrestler that the fans just didn't get and they should have, because I'm sure there were plenty of those. But I mean, you've got guys that got boned over by the company many, many times, Like, for example, Terry Taylor, who I don't know if does he still work? Hey, you're the Red Rooster. Guess what? You're fucked as a wrestler the rest of your life. Well, I mean, and that's just the way that it goes. There are so many guys.
I'm just mad. I'm just mad that Terry Taylor doesn't walk around still with the red hair mohawk that he had. I think it's
Tiana, for God's sakes. I mean, Sheamus stole his gimmick.
I wish I was backstage that day when Vince is like, Terry, I got an idea. It's good shit.
This is gonna be great.
You're a bird.
Anyway, so we'll start with my number 3, and my number 3 is he's a hometown Minnesota boy, guys. My number 3 top underrated wrestler of all time is Shelton Benjamin.
Gold standard.
And here's the thing. I picked Shelton Benjamin for a couple of reasons. Number one, I've been fortunate enough to meet him before he was a professional wrestler. And he is one of the nicest guys that I think you could ever meet. He made it through and is still hanging around even after his whole Shelton's Mama business, which could have been the Red Rooster for him. But this guy is literally one of the best athletes WWE has ever had. I'm telling you now, he's a better pure athlete than anybody, including Brock Lesnar, who, by the way, he went to the University of Minnesota with. So I think he's totally underrated. I'm very happy that he's starting to get a little bit of action with the Hurt business.
Yeah, I got a little worried though, because then on Raw this last week they did the whole walking by some guy mopping the hallway, and he said hello to them, and MVP's like, "What'd you say about Benjamin's mama?" And
no kidding.
No,
bad news.
No, they're gonna bring Benjamin's mama back. No,
Don't do it.
Yeah, I like Shelton though, man. He's good, and yeah, I bet him once too. He is a very nice guy.
Yep. All right, your number 3, sir.
Yeah, my number 3, man. Again, I went with you. I went from guys who, fan wise, it wasn't like, man, he should be more. It was more of they were there and they were not used wisely, or maybe just didn't get some of the credit they should have. So number 3 for me was Heath Slater, because I think Slater, since he debuted, here's the feel. We used to think when they called him Wendy's back in the day when he first came out with Nexus, like it stuck and it worked and you hated him. And then he did the 3MB stuff and it was like, I still hate him, but I'm entertained.
Yeah.
And the thing too is no one ever talked about, like, he's a great technical wrestler. Like the guy's good in the ring if given the chance. So again, when he was on the show with me and Wes, we talked, and he talked about how John Cena once told him, they give you an inch, you make that inch into a mile. And that's been the mindset with everything they've given him character wise in WWE. And again, he made everything work. A hidden gem for me has always been the JBL and Michael Cole show that used to be a YouTube show, which then halfway through switched from the JBL Cole show to JBL Renee show. And it was him and Renee Young. And they always had different bits. And one of the bits is Heath Slater played JBL's like young, dumb nephew. And it was hilarious, dude. He'd just come out there with this like Southern accent, like, "Oh, Uncle JBL, I love my uncle." Like, hilarious. And then again, just great in the ring. So yeah, that's my number 3. Heath Slater, man. Slater's got slates.
Yes, he does. All right.
I feel about that too, because I feel like Impact's slowly wasting him as well.
Well, that's a whole nother story, because it's hard to watch Impact. You got to really make a point to try to do it. And of course, Eric Young is now the champion, which means, all right. Underrated wrestler for me, number 2 is William Regal, Lord Steven Regal, whatever you want to call him. This is one of the best technical wrestlers that there is and has been. The great story about him embarrassing Goldberg, or he didn't really embarrass him, but he tried to make him look better than he was. Mm-hmm. William, whatever, Regal. He never got his due. He always played the proper role that they gave him. and did a tremendous job of it, but he just never got that push. The story is that he's had some personal issues as well, but that's neither here nor there. I always thought he was fantastic and would have done better given a bigger opportunity.
Had one of the best theme songs ever too. That he's a man, such a man. Oh, so great, dude. He's just like chopping a tree down. It's like, what the hell? Yeah, dude. Plus, you can't take away anything he's done for the young talent that's going up in NXT right now. He's out there helping train them.
Yeah, absolutely.
You gotta Regal's the man. Yeah, I agree with that. My number 2 is also somebody who I would say arguably one of the most greatest technical wrestlers in the ring, I think. And that's Mr. Curt Hennig, man, Mr. Perfect. I mean, he was big for when he was around, but this is a guy that should have been the face of the place. This is the guy that should have been holding at one time the WWF World Heavyweight Championship title, and that never happened. I think at best he was an IC champ. But I mean, this guy, I mean, the gimmick was so great. Mr. Perfect. The guy's perfect at everything, and he really was. You know what I mean? I mean, just with the gum flip alone, he would spit his gum out and slap it, and some of the vignettes he did. And the guy on the microphone was amazing. Amazing. That's why he was so good on commentary and could also be a manager when he was still really a talent. And then just in the ring, man. I mean, this guy should have had way bigger moments in his life, and it's sad that it didn't happen, and that they just kind of wasted it, man. But yeah, dude, I mean, he's a Minnesota boy too, so I mean that
absolutely. I told you the story about me. I never talked to him, but I ran across him at the Minneapolis airport coming in on a late flight one night, and he apparently didn't have somebody come to pick him up and was a little PO'd. And slammed that back when they had payphones, slammed that receiver down, and it exploded.
I'll tell you, I've met his father and talked to the legendary Goro. What's up, buddy?
Yeah,
that's bad. I've had the chance to meet Larry the X-Hennig before he passed. Another true legend. There's no lie, man. The dude's paws are bricks.
Oh yeah.
Bricks, you know what I mean? So yeah, dude, the whole Hennig family, just legends.
All right. Number 1 underrated wrestler, and not coincidentally for both of us. Wrestling wouldn't be wrestling if it wasn't for this guy, ladies and gentlemen, Rowdy Piper. We both feel that he's the top underrated wrestler of all time. For many reasons. I mean, he was very successful, but never got the push, never won the championship. But without him, there would be, you can go back and look, without him in Mid-Atlantic, there may not be a Ric Flair. Without him in the WWF, there would not be a Hulk Hogan. In order for a face to absolutely take over and get shot to the moon, you got to have a very, very talented heel. And there was none better than Roddy Piper.
I mean, it's exactly true, man. This guy was a legend. I tell you what, like being a fan and being in this world, and now being even more connected to this world, like when you see some of these guys pass away, it's sad, you know. It's always sad. You know, I think as of late, what was one of the latest was like Howard Finkel passed, you know, and it really, you know, a lot of people were upset over that. But like 2 passings in the wrestling world that like really got me was Piper and Heenan.
Yeah.
I mean, those were like that. My day was over when I heard. Like, I remember when Piper died. Like, I ended my day that day. I went home. I just watched Piper shit on TV, and it was just like, damn. And the thing with him is, I was like on a mission to meet him. Those like 2 years before he passed.
Oh yeah,
the last legend that I hadn't gotten to meet yet. That I was like, I need to, and it never happened. I was very upset over that. And like you said, there'd be no Flair. There'd be no Hogan. Biggest of all, though. There would not be a WrestleMania,
right?
Still going to this day if it wasn't for Piper. you know, you had that crossover of the Rock and Wrestling Connection. You had Mr. T, all these celebrities. Mr. T coming in and just doing the match is great. You got people invested in that, but I mean, it was that heat, that hatred between him and Piper.
Well, the heat that he
second WrestleMania.
Yeah, the heat with the Rock and Wrestling started when he took that gold record that Cyndi Lauper had won and cracked it over Lou Albano's head.
You know what I mean? And if you really look at it back at it too, I mean, iconic moments. I mean, the coconut on Snuka's head.
Yeah.
Piper's Pit. He was the first guy to really have a show like that.
Yeah.
And you look at the stuff he did later. I mean, there was some questionable things, you know, the half blackface against Bad News Brown. That was pretty questionable. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I mean, at the time, it was accepted and it worked. You know what I mean? I remember one of his last big matches at WWE WrestleMania, him and Goldust in that Hollywood backlot brawl. Weird ass match, but again, it was a great moment because of Piper. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like, you know, like we were talking about MJF and how great it would be for him to be champ as heel, and it'd be fun when that happens. Piper was the guy that should have had a heel run as WWF champ.
Absolutely.
You had Sheik, you had Backlund, you had these Slaughter as a bad guy. How did Piper never get the chance to hold the strap and be the man? It's a crime. It really is. But yeah, man, I mean, there's no one better. No one.
Absolutely. So, if you've got questions, comments, feel that we've screwed up this list, let us know in the comments. We will respond as possible. We will be doing top 3 lists every week, and we hope that you'll join us and subscribe to the channel. All right. So
we need to figure out next week's top 3 now.
Oh yeah. What should we do next week?
What do we got going on here? Should we do, in lieu of Dominic Mysterio, should we go Generations and go with maybe best second or third generation? Or
dude, if we do that, that's gonna be, that'd be a great list.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea.
We'll go top 3 generational stars from, what should we do, like the last 20, 30 years?
Yeah.
Top 3 generational stars of current wrestling. Let's just
top three. Well, no, it could be I'm just trying to think.
Generation wrestlers, I guess.
There are quite a few third generation, but second or third generation. Let's just say follow in the family business.
Yeah, I mean, Perfect is right there. You know,
Mr. Perfect is there. There's a ton of them.
Let's do top 3 generational stars.
Sounds like a good idea to me.
Yeah, man.
Got anything going on this week with Wes Briscoe?
There might be a show on Thursday, not 100% sure, but definitely check out last week's episode. We had PJ Black, formerly known as Justin Gabriel from Nexus on WWE. Very, very interesting, fun conversation. That guy is a trip, man. He's super fascinating to listen to, man. This guy's in touch with all different kinds of just spiritual things, and just his outlook on life, his story. Because he has a real interesting story. I mean, he debuted. He's a second generation wrestler. He's been training since a kid. He debuted at 16, and from then to now, it's an amazing story. Very inspirational guy as well, and just, man, it was a really fun time talking with him. So check that out, PJ Black, with me, Wes Briscoe, on the Briscoe and Big A Show. You can find it on YouTube. Watch the video there. Audio versions exclusively on the VOC Radio Nation Network.
Awesome. If you want to go see a comedy show this weekend and you're in the Twin Cities metro area, I'm doing a show on Friday the 11th in Burnsville, Minnesota, at the home of mayoral candidate Chris Claviter. He's running as a libertarian for the mayor of Burnsville, and it's actually a free show. Donations accepted for his candidacy, so that'll be on Friday at 8 o'clock. I don't have the address, but if you're interested, you can certainly contact me or look me up on Facebook. I will have that information there. But other than that, it's been a great week of wrestling, fun, and games, buddy.
Yeah, definitely. Also, if you're in the Minnesota area, Kickstart Your Heart Wrestling has a show coming up in October. I know you already got your tickets.
Oh, yeah.
Tickets. We're going to be there, so you shall be there too. It's going to be a fun time.
And it's going to, by the way, it's going to be in Rosemont, Minnesota, and apparently at a new venue for them.
Mm-hmm.
At a basically it's a church hall, which is going to be kind of cool because I'm going to swear my ass off.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Good friend Red Velvet will be out there wrestling as well, so make sure you come check her out. They got a stack card actually, so it's gonna be fun.
It is.
Good time.
It is. Anyway, folks, we appreciate all of you watching, and we appreciate all your comments, even though I don't get them all up there. Goro, see, I'll put some up there. We're going through the list. I can't read this. Your mouth does crap, Gold Goro. He's probably not even here anymore. But he did have some good ones, and we love the fact that Goro's there. We love the fact that you're here, Chris, and all of you that are watching. We appreciate it very, very much. No matter where you may watching, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch, we appreciate it very, very much. We will see you again next Tuesday at 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Right here on many of these live streaming channels. Bye-bye.